Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Cal Christo and thank you ever so very much for joining me. Today we're going to talk about MEIOU and Taxes 3.0, specifically why you should play it and why it's different from vanilla. We're also going to touch on a few things that make it different from previous versions of MEIOU and Taxes, but mainly this video is about what makes MEIOU and Taxes different. In vanilla EU4, the economy is very, very simple. It's based on the development of provinces and lots of impacts that flow from that. In MEIOU and Taxes, it's a lot more complicated. MEIOU and Taxes simulates a real global population and economic model. Every province has its people tracked. They are divided into classes. Those people need food. They have requirements. They have life, comfort, and luxury needs. To meet those needs, they work, get wages, own property, and buy goods. The goods system is modeled. Here are all the different types of goods. There is a global interconnected trade network of these goods and the people who are making them in industries. Production is not just a stat on a province. There are actually industries with, as you can see here, inputs and outputs requiring goods and labor to turn into products. There are multi-stage production chains built into this kind of thing. There's lots more to be said about the population mechanics and things, but I'll leave it very vague for this episode. This is just to try and kind of whet your appetite on what MEIOU and Taxes is. There's also a much more fully realized religion system. So we can see, for example, that the rural, urban, and notable populations are subdivided and can each belong to different religions, based all the way down to the individual person. If we look at a nation with a more complicated religious situation, say, for example, Constantinople over here, we can see that there are people belonging to the Orthodox, Sunni, Gnostic, and Jewish faiths. The mod adds a huge number of new tags. You will note that there are currently 100 princes in the empire, and some of them have already been annexed. It also adds a vast number of new provinces with, I have to say, some very nice borders and some rather interesting ones. It also adds huge changes all over the world to the trade map mode. So there's a whole different range of options to exploit. It also adds a whole new colonization system whereby you have to send out expeditions and colonize new regions using those expeditions rather than just having colonial range to go wherever you choose. There's also a hugely revamped estate system where there is this tug of war between the state and the estates and a constant process of privileges, reforms, rights, bureaucratic expansion, managing stability in a dynamic, progressive way, state reach representing the ability of your bureaucrats to enforce their will in individual provinces. It's a fantastic and dynamic system, which I very much encourage you to check out. Buildings. Gone are the arbitrary units of buildings. Now there is infrastructure. Infrastructure of 6 different types, from capital infrastructure helping with communication efficiency, which is something we'll touch on in just a sec, to new harbors, roads affecting how fast your units can move, and all kinds of good stuff. To build infrastructure, you don't just throw ducats at the situation, you actually have to buy the individual units of goods that are required to build that type of infrastructure from the open market, as well as paying for the labor costs of building that unit. MEIOU and Taxes also comes with some very nice custom music, which I'm not certain you can hear too well, but look it up, it's really good. There's also maintenance costs on on infrastructure and on property, and a whole new tax system. You can manually set the taxes in your provinces, and you can automate it, which is what you'll probably actually do, but you can manually set the taxes on medium, low, high, or non-existent in tons of different areas, from property tax to inheritance tax, in order to shape the kind of demographics and wealth you want to see in your society. You can focus your taxes on the upper classes and create a kind of burger, trade-focused state, or you can oppress the peasantry with harsh taxes on them and make the nobles really powerful and ascendant. Invest in property and maintain it, while maintaining your crown lands not merely as a arbitrary percentage on a pie chart, and by the way, it's got custom pie charts, but actually as a percentage of specific types of land you own. We, for example, in this campaign have taken a huge amount of direct ownership over the religious education going on around France. So the state now owns 7.16% of the academic property, which of course is feeding into our income as we collect rents on our glorious properties around the French Empire. Manpower, too, is calculated realistically, with a person dying on the battlefield actually reducing the population of the province from which they were raised, and a complicated calculation of different subsections of your army, reflecting the path to modernity, the move from feudal levies to a professional, bureaucratically organized state army in the later stages of the game. There are many more things I could touch on. New ideas, a whole kind of tech tree almost of ideas, hundreds of updated national ideas, tons and tons and tons of new missions, a reformed institution system where you can invent institutions in your province. It's not just they start in one space and spread out. There's a whole set of systems whereby you can invent those institutions in your own provinces and have them spread from there. Several new institutions, as well as revamped old versions of the existing ones, including meritocracy, an institution that starts mostly in China and the what was remnants of the Roman Empire. There's also a seriously revamped economic system in terms of your spending, where you actually have to pay for all of your men, including those who are not currently raised on the field, as well as maximum manpower, also restricting the total number of troops you can have both in your manpower and on the field. There's also changes to how your institutional authority works, where your ruler is not the be-all and end-all, because if you can have a strong executive branch of the state, that can counter having a particularly bad ruler. New calculations for legitimacy based on how well the power brokers, that is the estates and elites within your country, think of your country, as well as revamped corruption mechanics based on how loyal and powerful the estates are, calculated on a per province level. There is a lot, just a lot, that has been added. Oh yes, also a totally revamped Unrest mechanic based on different groups of society having different concerns and generating unrest accordingly. Other things worth mentioning, editing this in after the fact, there is immigration and emigration based on where the labour markets are more favourable. There are tons and tons of new types of advisors, as well as advisors having political allegiance to court factions, which relate back to the new and improved estates system. There is a centralization mechanic that is progressive and has cost and benefit analysis rather than just absolutism from the base game that trends throughout the game and moves based on different situations. There are also tons of new subject types, vassals, appendages, feudatories, divisions, and new mechanics for integrating them over time, where loyalty, cultural and religious ties play a role. There are censuses to see the situation of the industrial and demographic state of your nation, and so much more. There is a lot. New plague system. There's a huge plague system which has a proper actual epidemic calculation province by province with who's immune, who's already got it, who's dead. It's one heck of a mod, and I could not recommend it more wholeheartedly. This is, to my mind, by far the best mod ever created, and you owe it to yourself to try it out. This video is the first in a tutorial series. Do look for the playlist for that, which should be in the comments and the description, which also includes how to download it, as well as a much more in-depth summary of tons of the systems that I have just explained to you. New policies, new technology, tons and tons and tons of new decisions, and automated investment and delegated taxes, and just so much more. MEIOU and taxes. It is my destiny to rule the world, and it's yours too. Get the mod, try it out, and enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.